why I make impact investing a priority. It's a no-brainer. But I will tell you a funny story. So when I was interviewing for this role, my very first interview, the Odgers, our search firm, was coaching me and prepping me for it, and they said, you might want to look up this social impact investing thing. It might come up as a question. And so I did, and he directed me to the Mars website, and so I read the sort of very intense paper and got a little confused. And so I remember thinking, what is this social impact investing? It's no silver bullet, it's what is this thing? And so they never asked me the question, and which I was ultimately relieved, because when I got into the foundation and I got the job and I got into the foundation and I sat in my first social impact investing committee discussion, it all clicked for me. I finally got this idea that we have all these endowed funds that are going out into the marketplace, but what good are they doing? And how could we take a big chunk of it and actually be loaning it out for the purposes of good? It was a no-brainer. But the literature and this, because it's such a new space, it doesn't make it as accessible. But once you're actually into it, it's the most wonderful thing we could be doing. And so I'm absolutely loving it as a priority. It's a priority for me too, because I'm going to have more ability to loan money for a period of time than I have in grantable money. And I also think it's a great tool that might come together between those two things. And how can we leverage it off each other? There's just so many possibilities. Well, it's interesting because a lot of my fund holders are already social impact investing with someone else. So my real secret dream is that we would eventually be able to offer it as an individual experience for anybody. But when I talk about social impact investing in a bite-size, it's just really about loaning and investing in the sector for the purposes of good, for a very small return, and we're totally okay with that. I'm looking to grow our foundation. I want more fund holders, but I also want to be able to deliver a philanthropic experience in the way that they're expecting. And I do think not just the new donor, I think our older fund holders are already in this space. They're heading to legacy place and they do investing their money all the time. It's actually a very familiar space for them. So my dream is that when we sit down to talk about a fund and the development of a fund, in that very first conversation, the question is, how much do you want to grant? And how much do you want to impact invest? And what do you want that impact investment experience to look like? Do you need our assistance? Can we bring some interesting projects forward for you? What could we be leveraging our own impact investments with your impact investment? Just as I was arriving, the committee was signing its first loan to Habitat for Humanity, and a $1.5 million loan to help them kick off one of their biggest builds in the city. Well, our vital signs report shows that housing, and it's no surprise, housing is our biggest single issue in terms of equity. We have a wait list of over 100,000 families waiting to get into affordable housing in our city. It would seem almost an impossible challenge, but what is exciting for me about social impact investing is it's a challenge that Toronto Foundation can now step into. And I recognize that, 100,000 families and the kind of housing crisis we have, a $1.5 million loan is a drop in the bucket. But what it does is it galvanizes my constituency of fund holders to see that we're entering that space, and how could they enter it with us? Well, I think we do what we did, which was be inspired by Hamilton and Edmonton and those community foundations that were way more, aggressive than we were in this space. And I give them full credit for inspiring us to be in this space. I think, we were a bit late in this space, and I'm glad we're in it now. And I can't wait, that we're making our Social Impact Investment Committee a formal board committee this year. And we're looking to go to the 10% of our discretionary assets. That's just exciting, but we couldn't have done that without the Terry Cooks and the great work that they're doing in Edmonton in this space. I'm very committed to engaging our fund holders. As a community foundation family, and I'm only 7 months in, but my assessment is we spend an awful lot of time talking about where the money is going, but we don't spend enough time talking about where it's coming from. And I think that social impact investing is actually a fantastic an attractive way to get more fund holders engaged in our community foundations. And so for me, it's a natural place for us to be because it's where our fund holders want to be.